Welcome.
Hi, thanks.
I mean, you have a great crowd here. We're adding another screening. Can you tell us a bit about the reactions you had in Portland and with the family and with the friends who are in the film?
Well, we just did our Portland premiere last month, and we had 3 sold-out shows. And prior to the screening, not really many people from the film saw the film. There were a couple people, I think, who saw it. But yeah, it was crazy. It was like the Rocky Horror Picture Show to sit down with a room full of people in Portland with a movie that has Portland as a kind of a main character in the place where Elliot and all these people knew him. And I mean, people were yelling and laughing and crying and just really, really engaged. It was, it was overwhelming, kind of amazing, beautiful and perfect.
And how did you choose your team? How did Mark and Danielle come on board?
Mark, how did we
choose each
How
other?
did we do this?
So Nickolas and I have been friends for 10 years, and he's actually primarily been a cinematographer on films that I've directed. So this is our 4th film together, and he was, sort of stepping up to direct this, and he asked me to be his producer. The journey of this film goes back many years before my involvement, which I'll let him tell you more about. But really, at the time of the Kickstarter, he reached out to me, and we sort of helped steer the way through the crowdfunding. And then our other producer, Jeremiah Gurzy, really helped with a lot of the shooting of the initial round in Portland. And then there was sort of a moment in the process where the film kind of got to an inflection point where it really needed another producer, where we brought it to San Francisco, and we actually made the film in San Francisco and finished it there. And that's sort of something that I think is sort of, that has increasingly become sort of the way that independent films get made, right? A crowdfunding might actually jumpstart something, but then through the process of making a film, there's different producers that come on that have different skill sets that really help shepherd it along in different ways. But I think Nickolas is the origin of the idea goes back to some of the footage you see in the beginning of the film that he shot in 2003, which is really powerful.
Right. How did we make the connection? So Danielle's based in New York as well.
Yeah, so I live in New York now, but I moved to New York from Toronto, from Canada, in 2011 or so, and I found out that you were making a movie about Elliott Smith, and I'm a big Elliott Smith fan. And so I emailed you, and I said, hi, I'm a marketing person, and I really want to help you, so please meet me for coffee. And you said, I'm the guy who looks like John Cusack. Come and meet me in this Clintonville coffee shop. And so I walked in, I said, yeah, he doesn't look like John Cusack. And there's John Cusack sitting there. You totally do. And we just hit it off, and we got along, and we talked about Elliott Smith for hours, and
many times,
And thank you for bringing me on. It's been a really wonderful journey to work on this project with you.
Yeah, we've had like an amazing group of people who sort of have been, there was originally 1, then there was 3, then there was 5, then there was 7, but generally there was
150.
Yeah, then there's like all the Kickstarter backers and all the people who just sort of came along for the ride. This has been going on. We originally started talking about this project in like 2007, so there was a long building up to the point where we actually decided to launch Kickstarter. And then I'd been shooting stuff of Portland and Los Angeles because I'd lived in both of those places before. So all this stuff just started to amass over the course of 7 years or so, 6 years.
Very cool. I'd love to take some of your questions from the audience. It's pretty bright over here, so wave your hand. Yes. Did you try to interview his parents? Was that a realistic possibility?
No. I just decided that was something that I was not going to go to in this particular film. Ashley was amazing to sort of want to talk to us about stuff, but when it came to the parents, I wanted this movie to be mostly focused about Elliott's music and the people who played music with him and his evolution as an artist in this place called Portland and this fame thing. The parents, I just wanted to let them be. I didn't want to get too much into it because, that's a whole other movie, right? That's more of a biopic than this sort of celebration. So no, I never really considered talking to mom or dad. So the question was about Jennifer Chiba and the lack of Jennifer Chiba in the film. For those who don't know, Jennifer Chiba was the girlfriend at the time of Elliott's death. And there was something about her and the family, or the family not supporting her involvement in something. She was in another Elliott Smith film, and I felt like she probably had the opportunity to say what she needed to say about that, and it wasn't that, this was not that film. And because we wanted to focus more on the music about it, it was just, you know, it never occurred to me to knock on Jennifer Chiba's door and say, let's talk about this again.
You know, we had a lot of conversations as a team about the kind of film that we wanted to put out there in the world. And I think that, you know, one of the things that Nickolas was really committed to was a tribute film, you know, that really focused on the music. And so when he went to sit down to do his interviews, you know, we had long conversations about, you know, what would be the tone and tenor of those interviews. And they were always meant to be these very kind of respectful interactions whereby he would sit across from them and really honor that even though it had been almost 10 years out at the time of the interviews, that they actually might still be mourning their friend. You know, and so anytime you kind of sit down in a space of grief, you know, it can be just chock full of, you know, a lot of emotion. And I think that that was sort of, you know, the honorable spirit in which, you know, he decided to make sort of choices about who he would and would not approach. I mean, you hear it in the film, you know, Sean Brogan talks about, you know, once we can get over the tabloid aspects of what happened to Elliott Smith, you know, we can get back to the music. And it just felt like maybe, you know, a decade out that maybe we were ready to kind of do that, you know, and look back at this artist in a whole new way, expose his music to a new generation of listeners. And I think that that's, you know, enough time had passed and enough projects had happened that sort of had tried to, you know, unpack that part of the story, you know. And
yeah, that wasn't this film. It wasn't like a, you know, let's find out what really happened sort of thing. It was, I had the great experience of being in Portland at the time in the 90s when this was all going on, and this was a beautiful thing for me to sort of revisit and celebrate and go, oh my God, you know, I remember this guy, and he became this thing that we're all sort of still listening to, and people are still discovering his music. I mean, he's been gone for 11 years. He had this impact, and that was sort of the, let's just go down this beautiful, amazing journey of this, you know, of this guy who had this amazing experience called Elliott Smith. So that was the tone. That was the goal of the film.
So there were some more unfamiliar songs in the film. How did you go about getting those?
So there's a bunch of alternative versions of songs that, if you're an Elliott Smith fan, you know those songs. But there's alternative versions, and then there's lots of stuff from his youth that no one's ever heard. We worked very closely with Larry Crane, who's the archivist in Portland, who started Jackpot, and he has all of that stuff. I mean, some of these audio interviews, a lot of the really early stuff from high school, the I Love My Room thing, I mean, all that stuff sort of sits in the archives.
There's an early version of King's Crossing.
Yeah, there's an early version of King's Crossing. There's just multiple tracks as Elliott was sort of working on songs. So how did we get it? We sat down with Larry for 6 hours and said, what do you want to blow our minds with? And he just played us tons of really amazing stuff. And we worked with our other producer in Portland and Larry Crane, and we just sort of amassed a big bunch of it.
Before we wrap up, can you all three give a breakdown of what's next for you?
I'm just going to get on a plane tomorrow and go to Denver for the film festival there.
Well, so I think this is our 25th festival since we world premiered at San Francisco International last April. So 7 months out, we finally made it to the Big Apple. We're really happy to be here. Yes, it's great. And we have quite a few more festivals through December into January, February, and it looks like the film will be released widely in April of 2015.
Congratulations.
So, yeah. Lots of details to figure out on that, but you know, it should include, you know, a small limited theatrical in the U.S. and Canada, as well as a DVD and Blu-ray release, as well as digital and VOD and all that. And we're just, I mean, we're so excited because, as Danielle can attest, because she deals with all of our social media interactions every hour, fans all over the world, you know, are chomping at the bit to see the movie, and we just want to, you know, we want to do our best to make it available to people. And I think that, you know, the thing that I'm really proud of with Nickolas is that, you know, there's a film here for the fans that he made, but I think we managed to make a film that people who don't know his music can really connect. And so I think that's what we're gonna, when we get the word out, that's really what we're gonna be aiming for, is to reach a broader audience.
My next step is going to be posting a picture of all of you guys. Big thank you, and thank you for coming out. It's been a
Everybody
good
get on
screening.
Twitter now.
Yeah, and post your pictures too. We're Heaven Adores You, at Heaven Adores You, across the board, all social media. So when you post your pictures, tag us and say hello, and we'll say hello back for sure.
And the film's playing again on Thursday at 9:30 on Thursday.